The metal walls of the space station 07 shook softly as the sirens wailed. Red lights flashed through the long halls, warning of movement at the edge of known space. The Sci-Fi Empire had started its push again, fast, merciless, and growing stronger with each day. The galactic leaders were in panic, but the Academy of Varith, a floating school for elite alien minds, pretended to stay calm. They had their own problems. Not with the Empire, but with a new student, a boy, a human boy. His name was Kai Mercer. 12 years old, thin, quiet, and sent as part of a diplomatic experiment by the Unity Alliance. Let's see what the humans can learn, the Academy had said, their voices full of curiosity and doubt. The staff expected him to break down or cry within the first week. The students, mostly alien girls from warrior races and high-tech worlds, didn't take him seriously. They laughed when he walked into the class, his dark hair messy and his eyes sharp but distant. He didn't bow the way other species did. He didn't greet with pheromone puffs or mind echoes. He just nodded and sat at the back of the room, silent. "He smells like metal," one girl whispered, "too soft." "He'll cry when the lights go out," another said. Their teacher, a tall four-armed being called Carol, began the class with usual lessons on battle physics and advanced engineering, expecting the human to struggle. But Kai didn't. He didn't speak much, but when called on, he answered, precise, calm. He didn't smile when he got it right. He didn't boast when others were wrong. He simply returned to silence. It made them uneasy. That day, as ships scrambled outside the station and the threat warning spread across every screen, Kai was not in class. He was standing at a small observation window, staring at the edge of space. His tablet glowed softly in his hands. Lines, numbers, star charts. He kept tracing movements of ships. His lips moved, but no one heard what he was saying. He was solving something. Carol found him there and asked him to return to his room. Kai didn't argue. He obeyed. But as he walked back through the quiet halls, he paused near the shipyard. Large hangar doors opened for maintenance crews. Inside, old training ships and scrap drones floated. No one paid attention to them. Kai stared at the parts as if he saw a puzzle already half built. His fingers twitched like he was itching to fix something. Elsewhere in the academy, the other students laughed and shared rumors about the Empire's next move. Some were scared, but they hid it behind arrogance. They didn't believe the enemy would ever strike their precious school. "We're too far," they said. "We're too advanced," others added. But that night, in the quiet dark of the Academy's tech lab, a single figure slipped in through the side hatch. Kai, with tools in hand and a plan in his head. No one saw him begin. No one noticed the old fighter he selected. It was broken, useless, left behind after a failed test program. But to him, it was a foundation. He sat inside the hollow frame, wiring broken systems, cleaning out jammed circuits, making quiet changes. His hands moved with purpose, fast, smart. He didn't need sleep, not that night. In the morning, he was in class again, eyes a little tired but focused. No one guessed what he had done. The alien girl still laughed when he spoke softly. Still whispered behind his back. "Human boys are weak," they said. But out past the shields, past the peaceful sky, the shadow of the Sci-Fi Empire loomed closer, stretching its reach and preparing to strike. And while others laughed, Kai Mercer was already building the only thing that might save them all. The Sci-Fi Empire was growing stronger with every hour. Whole planets had fallen to them in days. Their ships were black like shadows and moved in silence, erasing colonies and leaving nothing behind. Their attack patterns were sharp and fast, never giving their enemies time to respond. They didn't ask for surrender. They didn't offer peace. They came, they struck, and they moved on. Every news report from across the galaxy painted the same picture: flames, screams, broken ships, and lost hope. The Unity Alliance, once proud and powerful, was now losing ground. Even the bravest fleets were retreating. Hope was fading fast. At the Academy of Varith, fear was starting to settle in. Students who once felt safe were now looking over their shoulders. Teachers held quiet meetings and began preparing evacuation routes. Defenses were checked and rechecked. Many thought it was only a matter of time before the Empire came for them. Yet in the middle of all this tension, Kai Mercer, the human boy, was calm. While others whispered about the latest attacks, he spent long hours in the shipyard. Every day after class he returned there, finding quiet corners and hidden tools. The broken fighter he had found earlier was now standing taller, its body slowly being reshaped. He worked alone, never asking for help. But what he did ask were questions. Strange questions. He talked to the station's AI systems, asking them about power cores and energy flow. What happens if a plasma drive reverses polarity during acceleration? He asked once. Another time, can kinetic shields reflect high-velocity beams? If tuned by gravitational timing? The AI responded with logic, but even it seemed confused by some of his combinations. He didn't just want to repair the ship. He wanted to make it something new, something dangerous. He sketched plans in the dirt with his fingers. He drew circles and lines on his tablet during lunch. He studied alien war designs and compared them with old human prototypes. His mind was always working. He didn't act like a boy. He acted like a soldier preparing for battle. The teachers noticed his long absences but didn't think much of it. Let him tinker, one said. It keeps him busy. The students still laughed quietly behind his back, calling him scrap hand or daydreamer. A few were curious, but didn't speak to him. Even those who respected his quiet focus were too proud to ask what he was building. But the threat outside the station kept growing. One day, a nearby research outpost went dark. Then, a mining colony on the edge of the system vanished. Surveillance drones sent to investigate were destroyed within minutes. The Zarkathi were coming, and now they were close. The Academy raised its shields and cut off contact with the outside. The teachers ordered all students to stay in assigned quarters, but Kai didn't panic. He returned to his ship and kept working. His eyes showed no fear, only focus. He took apart a damaged shield generator and used its parts to make a phase loop booster. He found a burnt-out energy coil and turned it into a dual-feed weapon mount. He didn't follow manuals, he followed instinct. The ship he was building was no longer just a project. It was becoming a weapon born from human design and alien tech. He called it Fury Star, and every part of it was something the galaxy had never seen before. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing, not yet, but he knew the clock was ticking. When he looked out the window and saw the stars dimming under the shadow of a distant fleet, he didn't run or hide. He made a promise in that moment, not to the teachers, not to the other students, but to himself. If the Zarkathi came, he would be ready. And they would learn that the boy they laughed at was something else entirely. Not weak, not soft, human, and full of fire. The attack came faster than anyone expected. A Zarkathi strike force tore through a nearby outpost without warning. The defense satellites never fired. The station shields didn't hold. The last message from the outpost was a scream and then silence. Every screen in the Academy of Varith lit up with emergency signals. Teachers ran through the halls shouting orders. Evacuation codes were activated. Fighters were scrambled, though there were too few and most were unprepared. The students, even the proud alien girls who had trained in combat since childhood, now stood frozen. The Zarkathi were not a distant story anymore. They were real, close, and hungry for conquest. Inside the command hall, fear moved like a storm. Even K-Rail, the strong four-armed teacher who had always stood tall, looked shaken. Some of the students whispered about surrender. Others cried in silence. No one had ever seen the Zarkathi lose a battle. Many thought there was no point in fighting. But Kai didn't say a word. He stood near the back of the room, watching the panic spread like fire. His face was calm, eyes steady. Then he stepped forward and spoke. "We're not running." His voice was not loud, but it cut through the noise. Everyone turned to look at him. Some laughed nervously. Others frowned. "We?" One girl asked, her voice sharp. "What can you do, human?" Another added, "You don't even have a real ship. You don't even have rank." Kai didn't flinch. He pressed a button on his wrist device, and a hidden bay door opened on the screen behind him. The view showed a small hangar far beneath the academy, one that was marked as abandoned. Inside it stood a sleek, half-completed fighter, unlike any other ship on the station. It had a slim black body with curved wings that shimmered faintly, energy lines glowing in strange patterns. The nose of the craft had an experimental cannon mounted beneath it, and the core glowed with a dim red pulse. "That's mine," he said, "and I'm going to finish it. But I need help." The room fell silent. Most of the students didn't know what they were looking at. Some recognized pieces of alien tech that had never been used together. Others spotted weapon parts that didn't belong to any standard fighter model. A few realized what they were seeing. One of the girls, Giara, stepped forward. Her blue skin had turned pale. "You built that alone?" He nodded. "With scraps, with logic, with what I had." She stared at him for a long time, then looked around at the other girls. "If he's right, and if this works, we might have a chance." "You want to take orders from a boy?" Another girl said sharply. "A human boy?" Giara didn't blink. "I want to survive." And with that, she walked out of the command hall and headed for the hangar. Slowly, others followed. Mila, the tall girl with the silver eyes, was next. She didn't say anything. She just moved. Even Drox, the grumpy old lizard-like janitor, showed up later holding a welding tool. One by one, they arrived in the hangar where Kai was already opening panels and showing the team what needed to be done. He wasn't loud. He didn't shout. But the way he moved, the way he explained every part with simple confidence, made them listen. The group split into teams. Giara worked on weapons. Mila rerouted the power conduits. Drox climbed under the ship to seal broken seams. Kai rewired the targeting systems, changed out the shield modulation, and adjusted the power core for maximum output. He worked harder than anyone, slept less than anyone, and never once lost focus. For 3 days, they worked with only short breaks. Every hour, the enemy drew closer. The station sensors now tracked dozens of Zarkathi ships moving toward them. But down in the hangar, a new kind of hope was taking shape. The fighter was nearly finished, and it was becoming something more than just a ship. It was a weapon made by the mind of a boy they had once mocked. But now, as they watched him connect systems faster than their own engineers, as they saw his eyes burn with quiet fire, they began to understand. He wasn't just building a ship. He was building a chance to survive, a chance to fight, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to win. At first, the others had laughed. Some thought it was just a human boy playing with tools. Some believed he was wasting time on a hopeless dream. But once the Zarkathi grew closer and the air around the station became heavy with dread, the laughter died. One by one, the alien girls who had once doubted Kai began to return to the hangar. They came quietly, unsure at first, but drawn by the strange energy inside the room. Fury Star, The ship Kai was building no longer looked like junk. Its smooth frame now gleamed under the soft lights, armor layered tight with pulse channels, glowing faint red across the sides. Its wings curved like blades, sharp and elegant, designed to cut through both space and enemy fire. Every piece of it was crafted with care, precision, and purpose. Giara, who had once mocked Kai, now stood beside him helping to tune the targeting system. Mila ran long cables and repaired a damaged reactor conduit. Others brought parts, ran diagnostics, and followed Kai's instructions without argument. Even Drox, the old janitor who rarely spoke, had become a silent partner in the process, welding armor plates and patching up the support struts. The hangar became a world of focused work, of minds and hands moving as one. Kai was at the center of it all. He didn't raise his voice, didn't push anyone. He simply showed them what to do, piece by piece, step by step. When something failed, he fixed it without complaint. When parts didn't fit, he reshaped them. When others grew tired, he kept going. His eyes stayed sharp, his hands steady. No one asked where he had learned to do these things. Maybe it didn't matter. What mattered was that he was doing them now and faster than anyone thought possible. The strangest part was that his ideas worked. He took a damaged wormhole stabilizer and reprogrammed it to act as a core pulse booster, giving the ship extra speed during escape burns. He removed an old cloaking module and repurposed its energy system to power the plasma-threaded fins wing. Extensions that not only gave the ship extra control, but could slice through enemy armor during close-range flight. He even mounted a weapon taken from a downed Zarkathi probe, merging alien tech with human systems to create something entirely new. The ship wasn't just fast. It wasn't just strong. It was smart, designed to outthink as well as outfight the enemy. As the final pieces were connected and the engines hummed to life, a new feeling spread through the group. Hope. It was something they hadn't felt in days. The news still brought fear. Reports of more Zarkathi ships pouring through. Space reached them by the hour. The Academy's defense systems were not ready, and no reinforcements were coming. But in that hangar, hope glowed from the surface of the Fury Star. Students stopped walking with heavy steps. Teachers, once shouting and confused, began to listen quietly when Kai explained his design. Even the command staff took notice. This boy, one officer whispered, isn't just smart. He sees the battlefield before it begins. Kai didn't care about praise. He didn't stop to explain what drove him. But every moment he worked, it was clear he was not doing it for glory. He was doing it because he knew the fight was coming, and if they wanted to survive, they needed something that could fight back. Fury Star was almost complete now. The systems were running, the engines tested, the weapons primed. Only the finishing touches remained. Kai stood on the platform, checking the ship one last time, and for a moment he looked tired but proud. Around him stood the alien girls who had once called him weak, now waiting for orders. They didn't see him as a human boy anymore. They saw a leader, someone who had built more than a ship. He had built a reason not to give up. And as the final alert sounded and the Zarkathi fleet approached the station's edge, they all turned toward the hangar doors waiting. Not for rescue, but for what Kai Mercer would do next. The Zarkathi scout ships broke through the outer edge of the system like blades cutting through silk. Their dark hulls shimmered with deadly energy as they approached the Academy of Vareth. The station's defense systems lit up, but everyone knew they wouldn't be enough. Teachers rushed through the halls, ordering students to stay inside. Alarms rang like cries in the wind. The message from the Zarkathi was short and cold. Surrender or vanish. Inside the hangar, Kai stood before the Fury Star. The ship was ready. The engines thrummed softly. The weapons pulsed with power. He looked at the group around him, Shiara, Mila, Drox, and the others. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Kai climbed into the cockpit and sealed it shut. Lights blinked around him, and the controls lit up under his fingers. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. Outside, the alien girls and teachers gathered in the control room, watching in silence as the hangar doors slid open. Fury Star rose slowly, its wings spreading like those of a bird made of steel and fire. Then it launched into the stars with a streak of blue light behind it. The enemy ships picked him up instantly. One target, their sensors read. Easy. Kill. But they didn't know what they were facing. Fury Star moved like nothing they'd seen. It spun and dipped, dodging their first shots. Then Kai fired. Twin plasma beams tore through the nearest Zarkathi ship, breaking it in two. The second enemy ship turned to fire, but Fury Star vanished in a sharp roll, then struck from behind, slicing through it with a precision shot. The Academy control room erupted in shock. The students gasped. The teachers stared. They had expected him to die within seconds, but in less than a minute, he had destroyed 2 enemy ships. And he wasn't slowing down. More scouts charged in. Fury Star danced among them, firing, twisting, and dodging. It was too fast, too clever. The Zarkathi couldn't track it. Their weapons missed. Their shields broke. One by one, their ships exploded into fire and metal. Kai's face remained focused, eyes locked on every move. He wasn't just flying, he was outsmarting them. Every burst of speed, every sharp turn, every shot came at the perfect time. It was like he had planned it all. The alien girls watching him felt something strange rise inside them, pride. The boy they had once teased had become a storm. He was showing the galaxy what a human could do. The last scout ship turned to flee, but Kai chased it down and blasted it out of the stars. The battlefield fell silent. Smoke and wreckage floated in space. Fury Star hovered in the middle, still glowing, still strong. Inside the station, no. One said a word, then someone clapped. Another joined. Soon the whole room was filled with cheers. For the first time in days, they believed survival was possible. Hope had a name, and it was Kai Mercer. As he flew back toward the station, the sky above no longer felt like a trap. It felt like a place they could take back. One boy, one ship. And the start of a fight the Zarkathi would never forget. After Kai destroyed the Zarkathi scout ships, everything changed. The news of his victory spread quickly, not just across the Academy, but through the entire Unity Alliance. His flight was captured on dozens of monitors, his ship moving like a blur, the explosions behind him like flashes of light. The Alliance leaders, who had nearly given up, watched those recordings again and again, trying to understand how a human boy had done what their finest pilots could not. For the first time in weeks, messages of hope began to echo through the stars. Kai became a symbol, not just of bravery, but of what humanity could do when pushed to the edge. He didn't ask for attention. He didn't seek praise. He simply returned to the hangar, made repairs to Fury Star, and kept preparing. He knew the fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. More students, especially alien girls who had once laughed at him, now gathered around him, asking to be trained. "Teach us what you know," Shiara said. "We want to fly beside you." Kai looked at them and nodded. "Then you need to learn how to think like a human," he said. He showed them Earth tactics, how to trick an enemy, how to turn weakness into strength, how to use speed and timing instead of brute power. He explained misdirection, flanking, and sacrifice. Some of it confused them at first. Their species had always fought in straight lines, proud and loud. But Kai taught them that war didn't reward pride, it rewarded preparation and courage. Soon, a team of ships, built using Fury Star's design, was ready to fly. The alien girls flew them, now calling themselves Fury Wings. They didn't wear the old Academy uniforms anymore. They wore dark jackets with a red star across the back, the symbol of Kai's ship. Together, they followed him into battle. Small missions at first striking Zarkathi scout posts, protecting retreating colonies, guiding supply ships to safety. With each mission, the team grew stronger and the enemy grew more cautious. Kai led every strike personally. He took the hardest positions, drew the most fire, and always returned. Sometimes his ship came back scarred, with burns along the hull or dents in the armor, but he never complained. He just repaired it, upgraded it, and flew again. His calm voice became the one others followed in battle. Even senior officers in the Alliance started listening to his plans. He wasn't treated like a boy anymore. He was treated like a commander, but with every battle won, the Zarkathi grew angrier. They studied Kai. They sent faster, stronger ships. They tried to trap him. And then one day, they sent something. Worse, a massive dreadnought called Oblivion Fang. It was the size of a city, covered in thick black armor, with weapons strong enough to melt entire moons. Its arrival was like a nightmare. The stars darkened when it appeared. It didn't send a message. It didn't speak. It just moved straight toward the Academy of Varith. The station shook. Defenses powered up. Ships scrambled to intercept, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Most commanders began preparing for evacuation. Some even started saying goodbye. But Kai didn't panic. He gathered his team. His voice was steady. We can't fight it from the outside. It's too strong. But I can break it from the inside. The alien girls protested. You'll die, Mila said. There has to be another way. Kai looked at them and gave a small smile. There's no one else who can do this. But I'm not asking you to follow me this time. I'm asking you to help me get in. The plan was risky. His team would distract the dreadnought, draw its fire, and open a path through its outer shields. Kai would fly through the chaos, enter the ship's weak point, and deliver a core destabilizer he had built secretly for weeks. One chance, one shot. The moment the plan was made, his team didn't argue. They knew what was at stake. The next day, the battle began. The sky lit up with fire and plasma as Fury Wings clashed with the Dreadnought's guard fleet. Explosions shook space. Ships screamed through the chaos. And then, cutting through it all, came Fury Star, moving fast, dodging blasts, diving into the heart of the storm. The path opened. The shields flickered. Kai flew straight into the dreadnoughts. Side, dodging turret fire and cutting through defense systems. Inside, the ship was burning. The enemy tried to close the doors behind him, but he was too fast. He reached the core chamber, released the destabilizer, and turned his ship around. But then came the explosion, a blinding, massive burst of light that swallowed the dreadnought and lit up the stars. Everyone watching thought he was gone. Silence fell across the battlefield. But then, just as the fire began to fade, a damaged shape floated free. Fury Star, broken and smoking, barely holding together, and inside Kai Mercer unconscious, bleeding but alive. The galaxy had seen what he could do, and now they knew this. Human Boy had become the fire that lit the way forward. Oblivion Fang, the giant Zarkathi dreadnought, blocked the sky like a black mountain in space. Its size made the stars disappear behind it. Its weapons could destroy planets. When it arrived above the Academy of Varith, the fear was real, so real that even the bravest warriors stood still, unsure what to do. Alarms screamed, lights flashed red, and every system on the station warned of an attack. Many teachers and officers believed there was no chance of winning. Some ordered the evacuation of students. Others sent desperate messages to distant alliance fleets, but they knew help wouldn't come in time. Kai Mercer, still recovering from his last mission, stood in the control room with his team, watching the dreadnought get closer on the display screen. His body was bruised, his left arm wrapped tightly after the last battle, but his eyes were calm and sharp. "We hit it from the inside," he said, his voice steady. "That's the only way." The alien girls who had become his squad looked at him with fear in their eyes. Mila stepped forward, her voice shaking. "You mean you're going in alone?" Giara slammed her hand on the table. "No, we go together." But Kai shook his head. "If you all go, we risk losing everything. You hold the line. I'll take the shot." They wanted to argue, but they could see it in his eyes. He had already made up his mind. And they knew he was right. No one else had the skill, the speed, and the courage to get in and survive long enough to reach the core. They had trained with him, fought beside him, and now they trusted him with their lives. The plan was dangerous. His team would distract the enemy fleet and weaken the dreadnoughts. Shields for just a few seconds. That small window was all Kai needed. He had built a special core destabilizer, something no one else in the galaxy had used before. It was hidden deep inside Fury Star, now fully repaired and armed with every trick Kai could design. He climbed into the cockpit, checked the systems, and looked at the hangar one last time. Mela was crying quietly, and Giara saluted him. Drox gave him a silent nod. Kai didn't say goodbye. He simply launched. The stars turned into lines as Fury Star burned through space, engines screaming as the battle ahead lit the sky with fire. The dreadnought had already begun firing, blasting the station shields with massive energy beams. Kai's team flew in formation, drawing fire away, hitting the outer guard ships with fast attacks. The moment came just seconds, and Kai dove toward the dreadnought's surface. Flying low, spinning through turrets and dodging enemy fire. The ship shook as explosions danced behind him. He reached the weak point in the armor, a small vent that led straight toward the core. His ship scraped the sides as he entered, sparks flying. Inside the beast, it was dark and hot. The walls were alive with power, glowing red and pulsing like a heartbeat. Fury Star was taking damage. Warnings flashed. The hull was cracking. Systems were breaking. But Kai kept going. He reached the core chamber, opened the lower hatch, and released the destabilizer. The countdown started. He tried to turn the ship around, but a blast hit the rear wing. Flames rose inside the cabin. One engine died. The control board sparked. Kai's vision blurred. Alarms screamed around him. But he didn't stop. He activated the last emergency boost, sending Fury Star flying back through the tunnel as the destabilizer reached the end of its countdown. Then everything exploded. Light filled the sky. The dreadnought blew apart in one final blast that shook the stars. Debris scattered across space. The fighters outside were pushed back by the shock wave. The Academy's sensors went silent. Everyone thought Kai had died. The control room was filled with silence and tears. But then, through the wreckage, a signal blinked weakly. A broken burning shape floated slowly out of the debris. Fury Star, torn open, smoke rising from its engines. And inside, barely breathing, was Kai. He had survived. His body was broken, suit torn, blood on his face, but his heart still beat. Rescue crews rushed out. They pulled him from the wreck, carried him to the medbay. He didn't wake for hours. But when he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the group standing beside his bed: Giara, Mila, Drox, and every student he had inspired. The battle was won. The dreadnought was gone. And though he had nearly given his life, Kai had saved them all, not with armies, not with superweapons, but with courage, with a ship he built from scraps and with a heart that refused to quit. That day, even the stars seemed to shine a little brighter for the human boy who had become something far greater. They carried him from the wreckage like a broken flame, his body bruised, his armor torn, his skin pale from burns and blood. Doctors rushed to keep him alive. Machines blinked around him in the medbay, pumping air into his lungs and healing his shattered bones. For 2 days he didn't wake. Around him, the Academy of Verith stood silent and watchful. The battle was over. The dreadnought Oblivion Fang had been destroyed. The Zarkathi fleet, once feared across galaxies, was in retreat. Their strongest weapon had been shattered by a boy they thought would never matter. In those quiet hours, the galaxy changed. News of Kai's mission spread faster than light. Not just the fight everything. How a young human boy had entered an alien academy, been mocked and doubted, then turned scraps into the strongest ship ever seen. How he stood alone in battle, fought without fear, and brought down a warship the size of a city. Broadcasts of Fury Star's flight ran across every known system. His name echoed in streets, in war rooms, in classrooms. On human colonies, people stood still, watching the recordings. Some cried. Some saluted. And on planets far from Earth, where humans had always been seen as weak or simple, things began to shift. In the academy, the ones who knew him best never left his side. Giara sat beside his bed, refusing to sleep. Mila brought him fresh cloth every hour just to feel useful. Drox cleaned the room, whispering stories about how the boy reminded him of old warriors. The other students, even those who had once laughed at Kai, stood guard at the door in silence. And when at last he opened his eyes, weak, slow, blinking into the light, there was no cheering. No loud noise, just quiet gasps of relief. "You're back," Shiara whispered, tears running down her cheek. Kai tried to speak, but couldn't. He only gave a slow nod and a small smile. That was enough. Recovery took time. His body had pushed too far. He had flown through death and come out alive, but it had cost him. While his bones healed and his skin regrew, the galaxy began to honor him. The Alliance named him Starborn, Commander, the youngest ever in history. A fleet was built using Fury Star's design called the Flameburn class. His tactics were studied, his plans used in training for new recruits. But none of that mattered to Kai when he finally stood. Again, weak but proud, he walked through the halls of the academy and saw not fear in the eyes of others, but respect. The alien girls bowed their heads when he passed. Teachers stepped aside. Even the elders from the Unity Council came to see him, asking his thoughts on the next steps in the war. Still, he spoke little. He simply said, "Let others fly now. I showed them it's possible." His ship, or what was left of it, was placed in the Academy's main hall under a glass dome. Beside it, they raised a statue of Kyoung, calm, standing tall with a flame in one hand and a star in the other. Beneath it, the words were simple. He made them believe. As the Academy moved forward, new students arrived from many worlds. Some were human, some were alien, but all had heard the story. They whispered it in the halls, told it in training rooms. Not just the story of a battle, but the story of a boy who turned out into strength. The Zarkathi Empire, broken and scattered, never again sent a ship near the Academy. In dark places, even their soldiers told each other tales of the human boy in the burning ship, who flew straight into the heart of death and came back with fire in his hands. They didn't speak his name out loud, but they remembered. Back in his quarters, Kai stood by the window, looking out at the stars. Giara stepped beside him, quiet as always. "Do you think they'll come again?" she asked. He nodded. "Someday." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "And what will we do?" He looked at the stars, where once a dreadnought had hovered, and smiled. "We'll be ready." The galaxy had once looked at humans as weak. But now, after one boy's courage lit the skies, they would never make that mistake again. Kai Mercer had changed everything, not with power, not with size, but with heart, mind, and fire. And the stars would carry his story forever.